All right, welcome you back inside the TriX57 studios and, of course, streaming live on TriX57.com. Double Job Boxing Podcast, powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Alongside Rob Scott, I'm Rich Quinones. You know, I was just looking this up real quick. So I was right. Christopher Walken was in this. You know, if you actually want to go and watch a great classic Mickey Rourke movie, go and rent The Pope of Greenwich Village. It's a classic. I'm telling you right now, non-boxing, but it's a classic movie.
Oh, okay. I was about to say because I never seen. I've actually never even seen any kind of boxing. Like I know that he's a professional boxer as well, part time, but I never really, quite honestly, I never took Mickey Rourke's boxing career.
Well, you know what? He was a heck of an actor. We go from one great actor to another heck of an actor. Lillo Brancato, kind enough to join us for a couple moments. A huge boxing fan, and of course, just was in the movie back in the day, and of course, one of my all-time favorites, A Bronx Tale, known as Colangelo. And Lillo, we appreciate a couple moments. How are you, pal?
Well, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
Lillo, we hear that you're a boxing aficionado, or that you love boxing a lot. Or what brought you to boxing? And we also know that you followed Arturo Gatti a lot. What is your take on Gatti being inducted to the Hall of Fame? But also, I just want to tap your brain as far as boxing. What brought you to the sport?
Well, you know, just growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, my father, all my uncles, we used to go to the Yonkers Raceway in Yonkers and watch the fights, closed circuit TV. And I just grew up, when there was no MMA or anything like that. It was only boxing. But, still to this day, I love boxing. And I, can consider it probably my favorite sport in the world.
You know, I'm curious because you said you love boxing, and I take it from just an acting standpoint. And you look at your career, and the one movie just recent with Back in the Day, which had that boxing theme. To me, to be a great actor, it's almost like being a great boxer because you really have to understand your part. You got to play the part, and you have to understand how to stay in your lanes. I mean, what, as goofy as a question it might sound, have you taken anything away from the sport of boxing, just your passion for boxing, that you've been able to utilize in your acting career?
I guess, just how you, I guess just, like I look at a guy like, Gennady Golovkin, who's, probably my favorite fighter in the world. I can't really say that. I can't really say I've taken anything from boxing. But, I mean, Gennady's a perfect example. I mean, the guy will bang it out with anybody. But, when he fought David Lemieux, he knew David Lemieux was a really hard puncher and knew that, knew that maybe he shouldn't go toe-to-toe with a fighter like that. And if you see that fight, I mean, he must throw a million jabs. And he must have landed, like 80% of his jabs. And just the versatility. And just, as an actor, that's also very important, just the versatility and not being the same thing and the same character in every role that you play.
Well, you said that Triple G is your favorite currently, but throw out some names to us as to who has, who was on your radar as far as you being a fan of them in the boxing scene in yesteryear.
Well, you mentioned Arturo Gatti. Arturo Gatti was a friend of mine as well, outside the ring. And, when we did The Bronx Tale, there was a scene in the movie where De Niro and I go to see a fight.
Yep.
Arturo's brother was the one in the ring. Joey Gatti was the one in the ring. And that is when I first heard about Arturo Gatti and how the guy Joey's got a brother who's, making his professional debut. And I just kept hearing, about this Arturo Gatti guy and how he would, fight wars in the ring. So I finally had to check it out for myself, and I was like, wow, this guy's like the real-life Rocky. I mean, he fought his heart and soul out every single time he was in the ring, whether he won or lost. He always put on a great show. And I have to say, his name is probably, going to be one of the most unforgettable in boxing history just because of, the courage and just the things that he did inside the ring.
It's amazing. All those fights you think about it, all the fights with Ward, they were never for a title. I mean, so you get, think about it, you get trilogies, you get 3 fights like that, and they're just regular fights, and they turn out, arguably 2 of them, fights of the decade.
Absolutely. That first fight, round 9 of that first fight was probably, top 3 best rounds in boxing history. that looked like, that really looked like a Rocky movie. That, that round just back and forth and back and forth, and you don't really see that. You don't really see that too often.
Well, being close to Gotti, you had to have seen, the people around him, and it's saddening that this week Lou Duva passed. What is your take on the passing of Lou Duva?
Well, Lou Duva was, his name was synonymous with the sport of boxing. He was, such a loved guy, and such a, a huge, personality and person in boxing that he's going to be definitely missed. And, I remember him being in so many different fighters' corners, Juan Pazienza. And, he rest in peace, and my heart and prayers go out to his family and friends.
You gave a nice little scouting report before on GGG, and you mentioned the Lemieux fight. Now, of course, Triple G has Danny Jacobs this weekend, so we know it's a battle of hard punchers. Handicap that one for me, because if you go back to that fight, I think going into this fight, the one thing I'd be a little weary is GGG needs to tighten up that defense a little bit, and conversely, Danny Jacobs has to understand, do not try to engage early on, be patient, use your legs, try to frustrate them, don't get caught up against the ropes, but kind of handicap that fight.
Mike Tyson said it best. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Yes, first of all, I respect Danny Jacobs so much for everything that he's overcome, and I am so glad, that he's okay now and not sick, and he's a tremendous, tremendous warrior. Just to beat cancer, but now to come back and to have the opportunity and, the resilience to, fighting the fight of your life is something that, God bless him for. God bless him. As far as this fight, I know Danny Jacobs is, was he 33-1 with 29 knockouts, so his knockout to win ratio may be a little bit better than Triple G's 36-33 knockouts with no defeats. I just think that Triple G has the edge in this one. The guy has never, ever went down in over 300 pro and amateur fights. I think he can beat anyone. I think anyone pound for pound that can actually get in the ring with him, there's a possibility weight-wise. Listen, you want to go toe-to-toe with the guy. He's got a granite chin, and he hits like a mule with both hands. So you're going to be in trouble doing that. Okay, so now you want to play the elusive fighter, and you want to footwork and backpedal and move around. I really haven't seen too many guys in the history of boxing cut off the ring the way he does. So the ring, the size that it is, he's going to make it half the size the way he cuts it off. So eventually he's going to catch you. I got to be honest, I don't really see anybody beating this guy. I really don't.
You think he
Danny
stops Jacobs?
Is a great fighter,
yeah.
But I just don't know if he's ready for the power that Triple G has. I really don't.
It sounds like you think it's going to be an early stoppage.
No, not an early night. I think it'll go 7-8 rounds because I think you're right. I think that Danny Jacobs, I think he's going to be told, you can't go toe-to-toe with this guy. You knocked a lot of guys out, and I know that you want to go in there and you want to show that you're not afraid of this guy. And, I think, and you want to go bang it out right away, but you can't do that with this guy. He's knocked out 23 of his last opponents in a row. So you got to kind of have, just like you said, you got to be patient. You got to be patient, and I think the patience is going to get him through about 5 rounds. But I think then he's going to want to bang it out, and I think that's going to be, I just can't see him beating Triple G. I love Danny Jacobs. I think he's great. And I admire him so much for everything he's overcome. But I don't know. Triple G's just too tough.
I don't know. We kind of differ from that angle because I'm of the thought pattern. I always feel that any fighter can be beat, and I think that Triple G he falls in that category. He can be beat. One thing that I always say is that, like, if anybody that knows me, they know that I always constantly say things along the lines of just like an HBO. When you fight on HBO, one thing about it, when you fight on HBO, it's a good thing because you get exposure. But after being on HBO on so many times, you become exposed, and I think that Danny Jacobs knows that he can't
He
go
set
in
the
there.
blueprint,
Yeah,
sure,
he
yeah.
can't go in there and bang with this guy.
Yeah.
But he has to have the footwork and has to have the skill to offset Triple G and what Triple G brings to the table. So yeah, I think that it's going to be a great fight, but it's going to be a fight that Danny Jacobs is going to really have to do his homework. He's really going to have to do his, not only his, you know, at some point in time, a banger, at some point in time, is going to have to box.
Sure.
And a boxer, at some point in time, is going to have to.
No, I respect that. I respect everything you just had to say. And Danny Jacobs, without a doubt, is a skilled enough fighter to switch up and has the ability to do all of that. So it's going to be really, a really, really good fight, and I can't wait to see it. You know?
I gotta steal you away from the boxing for a moment. I gotta go to a Bronx Tale. Because I have guys that call up my show during the week, and sometimes they'll throw movies and they'll say, all-time great. Can't argue that. I'm not saying that because you're on the air. First of all, you had an opportunity. You work with De Niro. You work with Charles Palminteri, Joe Pesci in that movie. What was your favorite scene in that movie? When you go back and you watch it, because every scene was great, but do you have one that you just kind of sit back when it's on and you kind of smile and say, man, I love that scene?
I gotta say, just because it took us like so long to shoot, and then when you watch it in the movie, it's like a minute and a half long and it's gone. I would probably say the scene in the bar fighting the bikers.
Now you can't leave.
Yeah, exactly. Like people watch that in the movie, and it's like, it's like a minute and a half, and it's like they have no idea. It took us like 2 weeks to shoot that scene because you have no idea. Like Robert De Niro, that was his directorial debut, which he did a great job, by the way. And being this is going in, this is the first film that you're directing. Of course, you want to cover your butt, and you want to have as much footage as possible. So he shot that every scene in so many angles, and he had the luxury to do so because he had the financial backing. So now you're shooting this scene. You have so many people involved, and you have so much action going on in the scene that you want to cover it from like 30 different angles. So that one angle that you have to cover, that's about 4 or 5 takes before you get that right. And now you have to set, and every time you got to do it again, even the same take, the bar just got busted up, broken glass everywhere. They got to clean that up. It takes 45 minutes just to get it back, just to shoot another take, not another angle. And, we're doing that on and on and on, for like 2 weeks. And then finally we finish it, and then to watch it, it's like, wow, it's unbelievable. Because of the way they edit it and the way, like the way it's paced, it looks, the way they paste it and they cut it together, it looks unbelievable.
With the music and then Chaz walking to the door and, with his reaction and his acting ability. No, that's fantastic. I know Rob's got one more for you. I know we're a little pressed, but we'll let...
Well, no, it's a basic question. I mean, I think everybody would be curious as to, Robert De Niro is probably one of the greatest actors that ever. When you got that call to work with that great actor, how did that make you feel? And as you worked with him, what did you learn from him as far as being an actor?
Because I had heard of, the movie was a well-known thing in the neighborhood. Like they were looking for like real kids from the neighborhood. It wasn't like something where you had to have any acting experience. So they were like, going to local schools and handing out flyers. And, I was discovered on Jones Beach when they gave me the flyer. My brother got me out of the water, mentioning to the guy, oh, wait, hold on, I'll get my brother. He'll be perfect for this. But, and then it took time. It took about a month and a half after meeting him before I finally won the role. I mean, I can't even explain in words. I mean, this is a guy that I looked up at, admired, and I still do to this day. And, go ahead.
Did you call him Mr. De Niro? Did you call him Robert? Or did you call him Bobby?
No, I used to call him Mr. De Niro. And
there you go.
Said, please just call me Bob. B-O-B, Bob. Just call me Bob. One thing that I learned from him, he always said, less is more. Because I'm film. Like how you look at someone, you see him on film, and then you see them in real life, and you're like, oh my God, I thought you were so much bigger. Film makes you look bigger, and everything you do, every action appears to be bigger. So he would always tell me less is more. If you don't feel like doing anything, then don't do anything. Don't do too much. Too much is no good. Too little is better. So in other words, just be subtle, and that's the key. Like I think sometimes in acting, and maybe just myself, I felt like I had to do something at every word that was said to me. And that's not life. That's not real. Like, I mean, look, I'm talking right now. You guys are probably just standing there. You're not nodding your heads, opening and closing your eyes.
I'm nodding my head. I'm nodding in agreement because we're enjoying the segment. I am nodding. Not nodding off to sleep, but I'm nodding.
I stand corrected. You know, so, you know what I mean? Just less is more. Less is more. Don't, you know, and that's, you know, but I mean, among so many other things, but that was just one thing. It was so simply said. It wasn't, you know, some big, you know, explanation with, you know, huge words. It was just less is more. And when you think about it, it means the world. You know what I mean? As far as acting advice.
Yeah, right. And you're right. You take it over to life as well. Got about 25 or so seconds. I know you're going to be pretty active with a lot of movies coming up. I mean, you got a bunch of stuff probably in post-production and filming as we speak. I mean, is there anything you want the listening audience, the viewing audience, maybe to keep a watch while for that some your work or maybe a passion project, something that you're working on?
Well, yes. I have a film called Valhalla that we're getting off the ground. We're raising the money for. It's a movie about being incarcerated, but it kind of shows it from the legal aspect, because the most important thing to somebody who's incarcerated is being unincarcerated. And the best way to, you know, get out of jail is by learning the law and, you know, overturning your case. And this kind of shows that whole aspect of it. And to me, you know, it's very real. This is, you know, I saw a lot of this. The most important place in the whole jail was the law library. And, you know, and I want to kind of show that. Of course, there'll be some violence sprinkled in and all of that, but it's basically about that. And it's called Valhalla. So, you know, yeah, we got that. But, gentlemen, thank you for your time. And, you know, hopefully it's a great fight.
Yes.
I don't want no scorecards. No scorecards. Okay. I want these two guys to stay in the middle of the ring and bang it out.
Slug it out.
You know, that's what I want to see. And if Danny Jacob wins, he wins. You know, Triple G wins, he wins. You know, we still love the sport, and, you know, we got to thank these guys for having the courage to go in there and to, like, beat themselves up and sacrifice their bodies for us, for our enjoyment. So,
listen,
you know, all day, every day, boxing.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better.
I was just about to say that. He did it.
Great
he
stuff.
Said it.
Listen, wish you the best of luck. You got an open invite. Hopefully the next time you're down in AC, we'll all catch up and we'll watch some fights. We'll take it in. We got the weekend coming right around the corner.
I was about to say, he has to come out in May. You have to come out in May for the Hall of Fame.
All right, that sounds good.
See, we'll put him on the spot.
I'll be out there for that. So I'll see you guys first.
You know what? Move around post-production. Just work around our schedule.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, Lillo, take care. All right, you got it. Be good.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it. All right, couple minutes to play with. We'll come back. I know we're up against it. We'll come back. We got about 10 minutes to play with before we get out of here. We'll start to wrap things up. I want to get your predictions on GGG, Jacobs. I also want to get into Mansour and Kaufman as well, because that's a good localized heavyweight fight. So about 10 minutes to play with. We'll come back on the other side. We'll wrap it up. Another edition of Double Jab Boxing continues right after this.